Do you remember when they said this?
American-style right-wing politics that is entering Canada through the Conservative Party of Canada.
Through the Conservative Party of Canada. Not only is Justin Trudeau going to places like CNN because he's no longer popular, even with his own paid-off CBC, guys like Mark Carney are going to American television to announce their leadership bids for the Liberal Party. Ladies and gents, welcome back. Now, it's been said that if there wasn't for double standards, the Liberal Party wouldn't have any standards at all. And they've been talking about how American-style politics is so bad and pitting us against the Americans as if we have some issue with our brothers and sisters down south. No, we don't have any issue with them. We largely share a lot of cultural aspects to the Americans up here in Canada, and that's a good thing. That's absolutely a good thing. But while they're, complaining about the Conservatives being a little too American, they're jumping down to the United States to make their announcements because Canada doesn't care much for it at all. In fact, Canada doesn't care much for the Liberal Party if you look at the polling data. But hey, they're trying to revamp their reputations here. And here's Mark Carney coming out on The Daily Show to make his bid. Anti-taxer coming on to X to put this clip saying, watching Jon Stewart trying to portray Mark Carney, the Northern Nosferatu, as charming and funny instead of the awkward and charisma-sucking globalist ghoul that he really is just brutal. What a drain this interview was to watch. We are in hell.
I am of the Liberal Party, yes.
Are they looking for a new leader?
I think they might be, John.
Sir, may I recommend to you, with your charm and debonair wit, yet strong financial backbone, that you offer yourself have you offered yourself as leader?
I just started thinking about it when you tried it.
Just started thinking about it. Yeah, none of us knew anything about that. Way ahead of this guy, apparently, even. Now, Brian Lilley putting it out on X saying, interesting, Mark Carney is running as an outsider, he says. His campaign launch was on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, and he wants to make sure people know he's not part of the Trudeau government. But as I wrote recently, Team Trudeau is all on Carney.
Hypothetical. Let's say the candidate wasn't part of the government. Let's say the candidate did have a lot of economic experience. Let's say the candidate did deal with crises. Let's say the candidate had a plan to deal with the challenges in the here and now.
Sneaky, you're running as an outsider.
Ooh, he's an outsider. He's claiming that he's an outsider, and he has all this political experience. Well, how much of an outsider actually is he? Now, Andrew Scheer made a video recently, and he showcased a lot of the people who are going to be running in the leadership race and showing how they're just not just like Trudeau. They are basically Trudeau. And not only are they basically Trudeau, they've been working for Trudeau for some time, and there's no exception in this case with Mark Carney.
Now, in terms of, we have both far too many fossil fuels in the world, half of gas, 3/4 of coal, etc., maybe up as much as half of oil reserves, proven reserves, need to stay in the ground if we're going to get to where we are.
Let's start off with Mark Carney, or Carbon Tax Carney, as he's known in political circles. Now, his current role is the chair of Justin Trudeau's Economic Council. This guy has been advising Trudeau and directing the economic affairs of the country for half a decade. As far back as 2020, Liberal insiders were bragging about how Mark Carney was a trusted ally of Justin Trudeau. They relied on him for advice, and he provided a whole bunch of strategic direction to the Liberal government.
Justin Trudeau trusts Mark Carney, and you know what, around town, Jen, Mark Carney is a name I've been hearing for quite a while. Been talking about him being the next finance minister, even the next Liberal leader.
You might wonder, where did Justin Trudeau get all these terrible ideas for example, to put a cap on Canadian energy production, meaning we can't sell our clean and ethical oil and gas to our trusted allies around the world? Well, it comes from Mark Carney. Mark Carney attends these fancy cocktail circuits at the WF in Davos, and he comes back to Canada and he preaches how we have to leave our natural resources in the ground while he chairs an investment company that actually invests in energy projects around the world.
The world has to do. We can't get there unless we do not just have a cap on emissions, but those emissions are brought effectively to zero.
Do you support the Prime Minister's decision to veto the Northern Gateway pipeline, Mr. Carney?
I understand the veto of the Northern Gateway pipeline.
Do you support it?
Given both environmental and commercial reasons.
Do you support it?
I think it was sensible. I wasn't involved in the decision, but I think it was the right decision.
And yet your company has invested billions of dollars in oil companies in both Brazil and the UAE to buy pipelines. You bought billions of dollars of pipelines as a company in the last 5 years. Do you support those investments?
Mr. Polyev, there is a global energy system, and one of the issues...
So clearly...
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, well, of course, we got to shut down Canada, but we can't shut down all those other places where I have my own personal money invested in those markets. No, it's par for the course. So if he wasn't just a liberal liar, he's got to be a liberal hypocrite, like the rest of them, like all of them, and like we've seen so much before. But this is the real Mark Carney, and this is what people need to realize. Roman Baber putting this out there, saying, listen to this extremist, Mark Carney. If it wasn't for radicals like him, Canada would be selling energy all over the world. Instead, we're beholden to the U.S. exports only. Elections have consequences. Reject this radical extremist.
The oil and gas sector in Canada produces more than a quarter of our emissions. Yeah. So and that's in the production and transportation of oil and gas, not the actual use of oil and gas in our cars, used to heat some homes and other things. So we can't meet our ultimate objectives, which is to get to net zero emissions, which, by the way, is what we have to do to prevent the wildfires and the other climatic events from getting worse. What the world has to do. We can't get there unless we do not just have a cap on emissions, but those emissions are brought effectively to zero.
Yeah, ask Californians right now if it was climate change that caused their problems that they're having in the moment. No, we're looking at, millions of dollars in reductions in expenditures to fire departments and mismanagement of forestries. That's, oh, well, guess what? That's what's been happening in Canada if you look at the Jasper fire incident. But I don't need to get into all of that in this video. Let's talk more about Mark Carney and what he's been doing to exacerbate our problems. Mark Gerritsen saying Mark Carney, who relies on banks to invest in his climate change agenda, is telling people here to make sure that they pick the correct banks to keep their savings or investments in. If they aren't on board with the climate, leave that bank. This activist speaks.
I think the one thing, the only other point I'd make is that we all have a role in this adjustment, and one of the most basic roles we have as individuals is asking questions. And so I focus on the financial sector, and the question is, the bank that has our money, or the institution that manages some of our savings, whether it's for a pension or asset manager. What's their position on climate change? How well is that being managed relative to the overall imperative going to net zero? And if that institution or those institutions don't know the answer, or they give you an answer you don't like, well, you can vote with your feet, you can vote with your money, and you can move that money because there's increasing numbers of institutions that are focused on these issues, that are part of the solution, and really deserve your money. And so there's, just at the individual level, we do have power and the power of asking a question. And then I'll say one other thing, which is that, my experience, I'm not a politician, but I've worked around them many times over the years. And the power of constituents asking the question or raising an issue, it is very, very powerful. It tells the politicians what people care about. So don't assume that your bank or your politician cares about this issue as much as you do, they will,
including
the
this
more
guy.
You raise it with them and others raise it with them.
Now, he does have one good point, and that's put your money where your mouth is. Put your money where you want your money to be going to a good use, and this is why we're offering coffee on the channel. I've been actually getting involved with not brewing. You brew your own coffee. We're doing the roasting, and what I'm excited about is the fact that I actually have my hand in this. You can join me for a cup of joe every morning as I have these coffees while making this show. This is a project we've been working on. A good friend of mine, Yuji, is my roaster for this company, for this coffee that we're putting out there, so you guys can enjoy and know that your money's going to a good project. It's going to fund a great channel, and it's gonna be tasty. That's the main thing. QC is pretty high with us. We've got some great flavors. Mega medium. We've got dark humor. It's your morning coping mechanism, and even an ecological decaf for people to enjoy, as I do every morning with these videos. Now, that being said, I'd love to leave this one with you guys in the comment section down below. Mark Carney is coming in as the head of the Liberal. He looks like he's the head of the race as it currently stands. Who else is going to go against him? People like Chrystia Freeland. I mean, they're all failures in their own right. They've all been behind Justin Trudeau in the process of destroying our economy here in Canada and chasing out investments, chasing out our industry. Is this something that Canadians have a taste for? Well, or is this just something they can sugarcoat and make Canadians think will be a good thing? Leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think. And as always, we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.